A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week.
Let's go.
What's up, guys? It's your friend, the Chris Donaldson here, and welcome to another episode of the Chris Donaldson Project. We have some unfinished business to discuss, and on today's episode, it's all about moving forward. But before we get into that, I want to say hello to my man, Art, behind the ones and the twos, that's making all of this sound good and look good and basically better than I probably should. Art, how you doing, man? It's our Friday afternoon podcast. It's becoming a regular thing.
You're right. I'm well.
Good, man. So before we get started, I want to share something with the audience. So yesterday, me and Art had the opportunity to talk to an awesome group of marketers, and it was really fun. We were talking about branding and a personal brand and why you still need one. That's a topic for another day. But, Art, if you remember, I told you I was going to do something a little bit interesting last night, which was a little bow fishing. And bow fishing, I've never done that before, but it's kind of the combination of fishing and hunting all wrapped up into one. And I got to tell you, I loved it, and I am definitely going to do that again. However, I have a confession to make. And the confession is, for those of you that have been listening to the show or that are new, we've got a couple of sayings around here, but the one, if you ever watch the video, you oftentimes will see me wearing this green band that says effort always wins. Well, unfortunately, last night was not a good example of that. I took as many shots of that bow in the 6 hours we were on the boat flying around the swamp as I could, and I hit nothing. And I am ashamed, and I am appalled. I literally can't believe it. Everybody told me what to do: shoot below the fish, the refraction of the water, take more shots. They're going to move fast. Everybody in the boat shot fish. Everybody in the other boat shot fish. I took as many shots as I possibly could. Never stopped. My hands are killing me, but I didn't get a fish. So I'm going to get some revenge on this thing.
Are you any good at bow hunting? Have you tried bow hunting before?
I have not.
Yeah, it's a skill just like golf. It's the first step to putt. You're never going to be good, but I think you got it. I think you have it in you to get to a place where you're hitting the fish.
I mean, it's funny because, yeah, I get it. I'm almost laughing at myself because, it was a lot of my hands, they're not killing me because I'm weak. They're killing me because I was using parts of my hands that like golf clubs and weights and barbells don't touch, but I would not stop. The one thing that that our guide said, the captain, as you call him on the boat, was like, he's like, dude, you fire fast. It looks good when you shoot, but you just don't hit anything. Because I was recoiling, pow, going again. I just cannot believe I didn't accidentally hit something I was shooting so often. So I need to get some pointers from you, but I'm going to figure this out. But just full confession to the audience, effort always wins. It accomplished me having a great time. It accomplished me being introduced to something I've never seen. I'm definitely going to do it again. But putting in the effort, at least on the first try, I didn't get any fish. Everybody else did, but it's all good. So publicly now, the redfish that are in our fridge, somebody's going to know that I didn't shoot them, and she's not going to be as impressed. So we might have to cut that out. But anyway, it is a good segue to what we're going to talk about today, which is we're in the middle of a 4-episode series. And if you are just catching up, we started this 2 episodes ago with the preview. So I want you to listen to this one, but it's not going to make as much sense if you don't go back. So you may want to go back and start with episode 5, I believe, where we talk about this series. If you've been listening to it, we're getting to the second step today in the 4-step process on how to get unstuck and to the next level. And this one is the obvious step, but it's the one that most people don't take, which is you need to execute. So we started last week about you got to learn. The second step is the one that you knew was coming. You probably predicted that I was going to say something like this, but you just need to hear it. The second step is to execute. So we're going to dive into that, and we're going to talk a little bit about how important it is, because you know what? Boat fishing is just a funny parallel for me, because guess what? If I didn't get on that boat and I didn't try it once, there's no way I'll be able to go again and get better at it. This whole idea, something that's new to me, if I don't try it, I'm never going to be able to master it. I'm never going to know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I'm Googling boat fishing while I'm waiting for the captain to show up on the dock. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I've got to get to our review of the week, which is a very important segment to me, because we're only, this is episode 7. So we're 7 episodes into the project. So I thank you guys that are supporting us so far. And every week, I want to call out by name somebody that leaves us a review, because it means a lot to me that you take the time to do that. And I want to publicly acknowledge and thank you. So the review of the week comes from Whitney on iTunes. So Whitney, thank you for listening, and thank you for leaving this review. She said she started in real estate just over 2 years ago, and she's finding myself in a post-summer drought. I know I need to make changes to rev my business back up and keep it consistent, and Chris is providing me the kick in the face, in quotes, I need through real talks and tips applicable to any small business owner. Thanks for the huge value add. Officially feeling challenged, inspired, and better guided to get things in gear. Please keep it coming. That's awesome. Whitney, that is exactly what we're trying to do here. So again, I want to thank you and acknowledge you, and that's our review of the week. So before we get into execution here, and execution of the lack of action, I want to also state that we've got a contest going on. And we've got a contest during this 4-episode series where we're going to be giving away Amazon gift cards, because I want to remove all of the excuses. And one of those from the last episode is, well, I can't even afford the book that you told me I need to read to start. Well, we're giving away gift cards. And Art, can you remind the audience, all they need to do is 3 things, and these 3 things cost nothing but a couple of buttons to push.
Absolutely. 3 rules. Rule number 1, subscribe to the exclusive podcast VIP email list via the website. That is www.thechrisdonaldson.com/project.
So get on the email list, right? So that we can 2 things. 1, let you know when we drop a new episode. And number 2, we could send you show notes, links to the things we talk about, special insider pieces that you're not going to get. So number 1, get on the email list, right?
Rule 2, leave a review with commentary on iTunes or comment on the YouTube video. And 3rd, share 1 post on Instagram from the Chris Donaldson and tag Chris in it.
All right, so let's review. You got to follow directions. Like, we're putting out the contest here. I'm giving away money and resources. All you got to do is 3 things. Get on the email list, leave a review either on YouTube or iTunes. So show us if you're listening. Hey, let us know that you're supporting. Maybe it'll end up being the review of the week, but you'll also be entered to win one of the gift cards. And then finally, go to my Instagram page at the Chris Donaldson. Find something that you like and share it so that we can see it. Tag me in it so I can see that you shared it. In other words, the currency here is not money. The currency is, let's spread the word and help people understand what we're trying to do. Because just like the review that Whitney left and so many of you guys, this podcast is at absolutely no charge. I'm taking time out of my day. You guys are all busy, and so am I. But there's something that's really important to me that I got to get out. And it's this unfinished business of helping you guys understand that I've been where you are, or you are where I want to go. But all I can share with you are the things that I've learned up to this point. And so where we are in this series is the 4-step simple process on how to get unstuck into the next level. So either I need to get off the starting line, or I need to get from I'm at this level in my business to that level. And I shared in the last episode, I've been through this, and I had to kind of figure this out the hard way. And I want to cut through that and make it a little bit easier so you guys can get right to the meat of the matter, which is to be able to get unstuck. So step 2 is you need to execute. So the first one is you got to learn So if I don't know what to do, you've got to learn that new skill. You've got to learn that new tactic. You've got to learn what it is that you're supposed to do. And step 2 is you got to do it. Now, the other saying that we have around here is also pretty important, which is perfection is the enemy of progress. And I think about that all the time. I think about that. Me and Art talk about that when we're doing this podcast. Every single episode, I'm like, man, we could have done this. We could have done that. But if I wait till the perfect time, if I wait till the audio is absolutely perfect, the setting is perfect, everything, well, guess what? We're never going to launch it. We're never going to put it out there. We're never going to move forward. So the idea of perfection is the enemy of progress. When I think about that, it's the idea of you got to have the perfect plan, or you got to have the exact steps to take, or you know, everything has to align, the moons, the stars, and when everything's in alignment, then I can execute. Well, you've got to understand that sometimes taking action that's even wrong action is better than waiting for perfect action. And one of my favorite quotes is by the famous general, 5-star General Patton, which says, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Which means when you're talking about something as serious or with as serious of consequences as war, it's more important to move, even if the idea is not perfect, than it is to sit back and wait till we know that we've got perfection. And so if you study leadership and decision makers, and I abide by this, we're going right back to that 80-20 rule, is that the best way to make a decision and move forward is when you have 80% of the information, or you're 80% right that this is what you should be doing, then go ahead and take the step, because you can't wait for the other 20%. So great leaders, great decision makers, people that are constantly moving forward. When I'm 80% certain, or I'm 80% of the information, or this is good, but not perfect, but it's good, it's better to execute than it is to wait for it to be perfect. What I don't want you to do is get caught in procrastination in the form of learning and training. So you can take that too far. So for instance, if I'm like, what do I do when I'm new to an industry? Okay, you need to study, you need to learn, you need to train on what you're supposed to do. Then you need to take action and go do it. And so there's some common themes, and there's some things that I understand. Like, I'm nervous because I don't know what I'm doing. Well, you've got to understand that everybody gets nervous, and everybody feels like they possibly don't know what they're doing the first time they dive into anything. But you've got to execute, and you've got to execute with commitment. So, for instance, if I'm running a business and I just learned how to prospect and bring in leads so that we can actually convert them to revenue. So I've read the 3 books, I've taken the online course, whichever one, right? Okay, so now I know what I'm supposed to do. The most important step is doing it. Because if you sit there with all of that knowledge, you took the time to read the books, you took the courses, you know what you're supposed to do, but then you don't actually do it, it doesn't matter. There's far too many people that sit there and have a great idea and they don't execute on it, or far more that let being nervous or the fear of failure, or even worse, the fear of success, from keeping them from moving forward. So what I can share with you is, when I was trying to figure out how to get unstuck, first thing I had to do was, learn what the issue is and what the solution is. And then number 2 is do it. So here's how the commitment's going to work, okay? The commitment's going to work in one specific way, and that is it takes time. So you can't expect necessarily, when I say you've got to execute, that you're going to get results overnight. You've got to be committed over time based on what you're trying to accomplish. So for instance, based on research, If you're trying to develop a new habit, that can take up to, on average, it's supposed to take 66 days, says the research, right? 66 days of doing something new and it becomes a habit. Waking up early, exercising, a new diet. Well, that's on average. All human beings are slightly different. I'm going to ask for a little bit more. You got to commit for at least 90 days before you know whether you're doing something right or if maybe you need to adjust. So as an example, one of the easiest things to do when you start out in sales or in business is to pick up the phone and call prospective customers, clients, people that have done business with you in the past. Just get on the phone and start talking to people. Offer out your services, information. Make sure that people know. And for some reason, that's the number one thing that keeps people from succeeding in business. They just don't want to talk to people. They don't want to put in the work that it takes in order for their business to grow. In other words, they won't execute. Oh, I just need to take one more class and learn exactly what to say on the phone. No. You know how you learn what to say on the phone? Call somebody. You know how you learn how to bow fish? Get on the boat and miss and let your buddies make fun of you. Right? You know how you get better at golf? You go out there and hit some golf balls. I mean, it's so obvious, yet it bothers me that so many people don't get off the starting line. And I think it's a couple of reasons. One is they're afraid. So let's take an exercise, and we're going to go through this together. So if you're the type of person that's like, yeah, but Chris, you don't understand. Yes, I do, because we've all been new to something. We've all been new. So take it away from me. I was listening, and I don't even remember the name of the gentleman. I'll have to pull it. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes. But the gentleman was talking about his experience as an Army parachuter. Or what do they call Art? I'm probably butchering that.
Paratrooper.
Paratrooper. And this gentleman, he's awesome. I need to think of his name. And he's talking about the idea that everybody gets nervous, right? And so at his time, when they were jumping out of airplanes, he was an officer in the Army, I believe. And they had a policy. And anybody out there that's actually been a paratrooper knows that if I'm butchering this, just let me know. I'm trying to give it just due. So if I'm slightly wrong on the terminology here, give me a break. But I think lieutenants or officers have to go first and last. And in the privates, like the people that are new to jumping or in training, go in the middle. So however this particular jump goes, he tells a story. He was an officer, so he's about to jump out first. And the private that's going to go right behind him tugs on him and says, Sir, are you nervous? And he turns around to the private and goes, I'm so nervous, I'm wearing a diaper, son. And the kid's like, what? And they jump out the airplane. And what he is explaining is we all get nervous. It's a natural thing. And nerves can help you actually, if you study the physiology, perform at a higher level. But what he also goes on to explain is we all have to find a way to get over our nerves because we all get them. And so the other example that I think of all the time when it's nerves and fear is, for those of you that I don't think I've talked too much about my golf obsession too much on this podcast yet, but I will share with you that I have spent a lot of time playing as highly competitive golf as I can get to, which is not very good. But I try my best. I love it. It's kind of like my outlet for competition outside of business. Well, so Jack Nicklaus is known as one of the greatest golfers of all time. He's got the most majors of any golfer. So if you know golf, we kind of, like tennis players, we judge you based on major championships. Well, he always used to say about nerves was that was a sign that he was where he was supposed to be. Why did I do all that practicing? Why did I put in all the work? I just wanted the chance to be nervous. Now you see the flipping mindset? It's the idea that if he wasn't nervous, he wasn't in contention. Therefore, he wasn't playing well enough. He wasn't putting in the work. He just wanted to be nervous because that meant that's where he was supposed to be. So if you're nervous, guys, understand everybody feels it, even if they don't show it. And the second thing is, and if you're afraid of taking action, like, I don't know what to do. Well, let's go back to step one is learn. But the other part is ask yourself this question. What is the worst thing that can happen. Like literally take yourself through the exercise. So I'm afraid to go on this sales call because I don't know what to say, or it's my first one. I've never done this before. All right, let's take ourselves through this. Literally the worst thing that can happen outside of like death or personal injury. Okay. So let's make it a phone call so we can keep them physically away from you. All right. So for those of you who be like, well, they could do something really bad to me physically. Okay. Let's not make light of that. Phone call. What is the worst possible thing that could happen when you make that call? Take yourself through it. You're afraid of it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay. They pick up and tell you a whole bunch of choice curse words and never to call me again. Well, they're not doing business with you then. Now you know. You could take them off the list and move on. Or they don't answer and you leave a voicemail. I'm not really, what's the worst possible thing that can happen? Usually, we have decided there's something terrible that likely doesn't exist, and we've used that as our reason not to move forward. When you take yourself through that exercise, it gets pretty silly. Now, if your job is to fly a plane like a fighter pilot, there are really bad things that can happen. You need to know what you're doing. But for most of us, we're talking about the idea of talking to somebody or a marketing campaign or moving forward. Take yourself through that exercise and you realize how ridiculous it is. Because what's on the other end of that fear is opportunity. And the only way you can grab that opportunity is to execute and take a step forward. Most people quit right before their business is about to take off. Don't quit. But in order to not quit, you have to be doing something. So commit for 90 days to take the knowledge from step one and actually do it. Execute. Get out there and do it. Because if you don't take action, you're not going to be able to move forward. And if you don't move forward, how in the world are you going to get unstuck? Or how in the world are you going to get to the next level? You keep doing what you've always done, and you're going to keep getting what you've always received. And if that's nothing, keep doing nothing, and you'll get nothing. And that's not who we're talking about here. So I want to see you guys execute and move forward. So stop getting ready to get ready. You know what to do. Get out there and start trying and moving forward, because every single step you take is going to be towards your goals, towards your dreams, towards the next level, and away from the spot you're in right now. So thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Let me know what you think of this episode. And I can't wait to get to the next two steps, because the first two, you could probably put it together yourself, right? You got to learn, and then you got to execute on what you learn. But I'm really excited to talk about the next two steps, because this is how you really level up and get to the next level, how you really get unstuck. Because once you've done something new for 90 days, now what? We'll talk about that on the next episode. Thank you guys for supporting the project. I will see you on the next Chris Donaldson project.
Turn up. Let's go.